Hello, guys. Good evening. Welcome to the session today. Hope you all are doing good. So, let us start the session. So, if you remember, last time we had seen how to interact with the Google Cloud platform. Okay. So, in Google Cloud platform, there are four ways to interact with the Google Cloud services. So, Google Cloud platform is providing you these many services. And if you wanted to interact with these services, we have console, we have a cloud shell, we have a APIs and client libraries, and we have a web and applications. Web servers and applications, they can able to interact with the GCP services as well. So these are the four ways that we can able to interact with the GCP services. And the choice of or the method of interaction is totally depends on the project requirement and the type of interaction that you wanted to have it with the service. Okay. And you can also know the console is a web browser tool and the cloud shell is an interactive cloud shell environment where you are going to interact with the Google Cloud services via command line interface. And the cloud console is a web user interface. You are going to interact with the services via visual interface. Okay. And after that, I have told you about the GCP locations. Google's infrastructure is divided into 5 locations. One is North America, South America, Europe, Asia, Australia. These 5 locations are further divided into multiple regions, and these regions are further divided into zones. You can see here GCP is organized into regions and zones. Each region is a collection of a zone. You can think that if I take one of the location, this location will have a multiple regions. Each region will have a multiple zones. Each zone is connected to the one more zone, and each zone will have its own set of resources. Okay, so this is what is the hierarchy. And a zone is nothing but an independent geographic area, and it is collection of a region is an independent geographic area, and it is a collection of zones. And a zone is a deployment area where the actual resources of the Google will exist. And each zone is separated from the one more zone with a high bandwidth network and low latency. The region and zone selection. When if you wanted to deploy your resource in the Google Cloud platform, it's important to consider the proximity of the customers or the target users. See, for example, whenever you wanted to deploy your application, look at the region and zone which is near to your customers. Okay. And one more is if you wanted to deploy a fault tolerant applications to help to avoid the unexpected failures, you can always deploy your application in multiple regions or multiple zones, which actually increase the high availability so that you need not to worry about the unexpected failures. The one more point is it is essential to understand the pricing and availability of the services. That means the services that you have, in a region, whatever the resources you have, that may not be able to available in the other region. And the cost of one resource in one zone may be different in the same service in the other zone. Okay, so the same service can have a multiple cost in different zones. If you think one of the service in the zone one is $100 and the same thing in the another zone, the same service can be a $120. Okay, so the cost may vary. The availability of the services in the zone one, you have a VMs, you may not be having the VMs in one more zone. So such kind of a things are always there. So always look for the whether the resources that you are looking for is available or not, and then look at the cost. So these are the 3 things that we have to remember while we are deploying our applications. And by understanding the GCP regions and zones, it allows organizations to deploy their applications with high availability, optimal performance, and low latency network. Okay, so until this one, we have completed in last previous 2 classes. I am going to cover with the GCP, IAM, and admin today. And those who are new to the sessions, they need not to worry about it. Only 2 sessions were completed. you can ask the admin team to share those 2 sessions. You can actually complete those things. Hardly 30 minutes of the sessions you can think of like that. Okay. So only 2 sessions have completed. You can connect with the admin team. And now I'm going to talk about GCP, IAM and admin. And if you wanted to create your account also, I have told you the process. I will also send you the video, guys. You can able to create your own account. Okay. And today we are going to talk about the GCP, IAM and admin. Hope you all can hear me right. Let me know.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, great. So let us start the session, guys. So GCP, IAM and admin. So in Google Cloud Platform, we can create multiple projects. For example, you can go to the Google Cloud Platform, console.cloud.google.com, and you can able to create multiple projects. Okay, if you wanted to create a new project or you wanted to select the existing project, you can select it. Now the thing is that you have a multiple projects, and in each project there are multiple people are working. And so if you wanted to take care of the access control, if you wanted to take care of the access control, or who have a what kind of access to which resources, totally explains by the IAM and admin concepts in the GCP. Okay, who has what type of access to which service. For example, so in this project I have something like a BigQuery. Okay, in BigQuery there is one user. If you wanted to provide him one kind of access, that can be done only via IAM. Okay, this is like this. For example, so assume that this is a GCP. Inside the GCP, this is one of the project. In this project, you guys are using something like BigQuery, right? So you may be working on the data proc. You may be working on the data flow. You may be working on the GCS. Okay, so these are the 5 services that you may be working on. Okay, so if one wanted to, this is GCP, Google Cloud. Okay, so this is project 1. Likewise, you may be having plenty of the projects. Okay, likewise, you may be having plenty of the projects. Okay, so now, so there are plenty of the users are in my project. So I'm working on this thing. In my team, there are 2 users have joined. Think like this. There are 2 people have joined. This is the user 1. And there is a user 2. Okay, this user is a developer. This user is a tester. Now, the developer need the editor access. The tester need the viewer access for testing the things. And if you wanted to provide him the editor access on all of these things, editor access on all of these things, that can be done via IAM. IAM is nothing but identity access management. Identity is nothing but a user or a group of users or a service account. A nothing but access to some services. These are those services. Management is nothing but providing the access to this particular I to these services is nothing but a managing. Okay, so for example, this guy needs some kind of a viewer access to all of these services. So if you wanted to do that again, that can be done via IAM only. Okay, so if you wanted to take care of authorization, or if you wanted to take care of the access control in the Google Cloud Platform, that can be done via IAM only. That means what the IAM is saying, Who can do what on which resource? What it is saying, sir? Who can do what on which resource? So this is what the IAM saying is that, right? Who means this guy can do what? He can be an editor. So the developer can be an editor. Editor access he need. This is a tester. That means viewer access. Who can do what and which resource? These are the resources. So this is what explains by the IAM. IAM is nothing but an identity access management. How we are going to do that, we will see. Okay, this is a concept. The IAM tells this one. IAM tells what's our who can do what on which resource. But how we are going to provide the access to these identities, we will see in our action. Okay, so this is the concept of IAM. Let me go to here, and you can see here IAM is nothing but a identity access management. Who can do what on which resources? Who can be a I? You can see here I is nothing but a who part. Okay, resources. Can do means what type of a permission he needs. Can do means he needs some kind of a permission, otherwise he cannot be able to do anything, right? So the can do what actually explains the permissions that he have on these resources. Okay, so with the IAM, you can manage access control by defining who has what access for which resources. Okay, IAM talks about the authorization. Who can do what on which resource? For example, what is mean by I, sir? So in IAM, who can be a I? So who? How many types of who's are there? So for example, if I talk about I, sir, I can be identities or principles. In IAM, I can be an identity, sir. Identity can be a user account, a group of user accounts, or a service account. Okay, I can be a user account. You can think of like a person, a group of persons, or a service account. A person, nothing but a person will be having its own Google account, right? So that is what is a user account. User account is nothing but a user will be creating his own Google account. That account I am calling as a user account. A group of people, for example, in my project I have two developers, developer 1, developer 2. They need the same access, or 3 developers are there, maybe 4 developers are there. If I wanted to provide the access to all of these things, I can do one thing. I can do individually provide the access, or I can create them as a group. Okay, so identity can be a user account. So this is user account. Google groups are nothing but a group, user groups. You can think of like a group of accounts, a group of accounts. So if I wanted to provide him the access, instead of providing individually, I can provide the access to the group. Okay, so this is what is a I. One more I can be a user account, I can be a group of accounts, or service account. A service account is something, a service account you can see here. Identity can also refer to a service account, which is an account used by the applications and services to authenticate and interact with the GCP resources programmatically. So think that if you have service 1 and if you have service 2, if they wanted to interact with each other programmatically, you are creating one account. That account I am calling as a service account. Okay, so a service account is nothing but a account of the services. The account of the services, if they wanted to interact with each other via each other programmatically, then they can use this service account. Via this service account only, they are going to interact with each other. Okay, so you have a user account, you have a group of accounts, you have a service account. You can see here an identity can be, an identity in GCP IAM refers to a user or a group of users or a service account. It can be an individual group user account, are a group of users with the similar roles and responsibilities. Identity can also refer to a service account, which is an account used by the applications and services to authenticate and interact with the GCP resources programmatically. Okay, so this is what is nothing but a user account, service account, and group of accounts under I. When I say IR principle, don't confuse in IAM. In IAM, I is nothing but identity or principles. Sir, you said all the time identities. So sometimes in the Google Cloud platform, they are actually mentioning principles. Principles are identities, both are same, don't confuse. Okay? Yeah. Now the I part is done. The next part is, sir, users are here. How to provide the access to them? Sir, users are here. How to provide the access to them? If you wanted to provide the access to them, we are going to provide the access via roles. In IAM, A is nothing but a access will be provided via roles. Okay, access will be provided via roles. Sir, for example, sir, I have one user. He needs a editor access. He wanted to have a editor access. For him, I will provide editor role. What roles are I going to provide it? Editor role. To whom we are providing the access? We are providing the access to the users. Nothing but a I, sir. So we are going to provide the access to the I via what, sir? Via what, sir? We are going to provide the access via role. So role will be applied to the identities. Role will be applied to the identity. See here, editor role will be applied to this particular user so that he will be having a editor access to one of the service, something like BigQuery. He will be having a editor access to the BigQuery. So this is how in IAM, A stands for access. Access will be done via roles, and we are providing or we are assigning the role to the identities so that they will be having some kind of a permissions allowed on top of that particular service. Okay, you can see here, sir, this editor access can be anything. So when I say a BigQuery dataset editor access, and he can table editor access, machine learning model editor access, and stored procedures, functions, anything he can able to edit it. So an editor role comprises of what, sir? It is a collection of permissions, right? So what permissions we are providing? We are providing editor access, data set editor permission, table editor permission, machine learning editor permission, likewise stored procedures, functions, views, many things we are going to provide. So a role is a collection of permissions. Okay, a role is a collection of permissions. You can see here the same thing. You can see here the same thing. A role defines a set of permissions that determine what action an identity can perform on the GCP resources. So if I look at the BigQuery editor role, I can able to directly say that this user can perform what kind of actions on this particular GCP resources. If it is BigQuery editor role, that means he can able to edit the data set, he can able to edit the tables, he can able to edit the machine learning models, he can able to edit the views, stored procedures, functions, many things. Okay, a role is a set of permissions which define the actions that the identity can perform on GCP resources. Okay, so this is what is a role, sir. What is a role? A role is a set of permissions allowed. A set of permissions allowed. What it will do, sir? It determines that the identity, this particular identity. Okay, this identity can be a user account or a group of accounts or a service account. Okay, service account. So these identities what are the actions that can be allowed on the GCP resources will be totally done via role only. Whenever you are working in one company, they are going to assign you one role. Okay, what is that role? Data engineering role. For example, data engineer or a DevOps engineer. These are the roles. So when I say roles, so by default, data engineer will be working on the data ingestion, data processing. So these are the permissions you can think of. Actions that the data engineer can do. What kind of actions, sir? He will be working on the data ingestion. He will be working on the data processing, data warehousing, data analysis, data preparation. Okay, those many things he will be working on. So likewise, a role will be assigned to these identities so that these identity can perform certain actions on the GCP resources. Okay, so this is what is a role. You can think, if you still wanted to see, a role is a collection of permissions, right? So one more thing, people say that, sir, this is a user, we wanted to provide a permission. Directly, if I wanted to provide a permission to the user, can we do that, sir? No, you can't provide an individual permission to the user. You can't do that. Okay, you can't grant a permission to the user directly. If you wanted to grant a permission, you can assign them a role. Okay, you take this permission as a role and assign him the role only. You can't grant a permission directly to the user. Okay, even though it is this role comprises of a single permission or multiple permissions also, you assign a role to the user only. You can't assign a permission to the user. Okay, this is permission 1, permission 2, permission 3. A role is a set of permissions. For example, if you go to the Google Cloud Platform, if you wanted to create a role, go to, this is a concept of IAM, right? You go to IAM, you see here, sir, grant access. When you click on grant access, see here, add principals. Principal is nothing but what, sir? Identities only, don't confuse. Okay, principals can be a users, group of users, or a domains, or a service accounts. So here, if you wanted to add one email ID, you add some email ID. And likewise, if you wanted to add one more email ID, you will add the one more email ID. So like this, you will keep on add the email IDs of your users. Okay, user 1, user 2, user 3. Or if you have created a group, you can create a group. You can mention here the groups. And then if we wanted to assign a role, we must create a role first. Okay, so this is what is adding the principles. Next, role. If you wanted to see the roles, go to the roles. In roles, we have a plenty of roles assigned, created by the Google itself by default. You can see here, for example, let me take one of the role. That is BigQuery, because we will be looking at BigQuery all the time. So BigQuery data editor. So this is one of the role. Sir, this is one of the role. Sir, where are the permissions listed, sir? A role is nothing but a set of permissions only. But where I can see the permissions, sir? When you click on the role, you can see here 37 assigned permissions are there for this particular role. You see here, models create, dataset create, dataset update, dataset delete, get art, list it, metadata delete it, anything, tables create, all of these things. So a BigQuery data editor is a one of the role. The role comprises of plenty of the permissions. Here 37 assigned permissions as of today. Okay, so by this is a default role created by the Google itself. Okay, and if you wanted to create your own role, you can click on create role. You provide the role name. You create the role name. You can create your own role name, sir. Custom role 1. You can create your own name. And after that, a role is nothing but a set of permissions. You see here, custom roles let you group permissions and assign them to the principals in your project. So You click on add permissions, whatever the permissions you wanted to add, you can keep on adding it. Okay, you can keep on add it, sir. I wanted to add these permissions. Okay, no, sir, I'm working on the BigQuery. So I wanted to add few permissions in the BigQuery. So BigQuery data editor. You will be able to see the data editor permissions here. 37 are there. You wanted to add few. Okay, click on add. So you have added 4 permissions here to this particular role and click on create. Okay, that means you have created a role. A role is nothing but a set of permissions. These permissions will actually determine that the identities can perform only these actions. Only these actions, these allowed actions only can the identities can do. Other than that, they can't do anything. Okay, all other actions will be restricted. Okay, so this is what is a role, sir. Okay, you can create your own role. Go back to that. See here, a permission cannot be assigned to a user. If you wanted to assign any permission, you create that as a role and you can assign the permission. You can assign the role to the user. That's what it is mentioned here. A role is a collection of permissions. You cannot grant a permission to the user directly. Instead, you grant them a role. When you grant them a role to a user, you grant them all the permissions that the role contains, right? So when you assign this role to the user, that means this he will be having this permission, second permission, third permission. All the permissions he will be having from now on. That's what this point says. You grant them all the permissions that the role contains. Okay, you see here. This is one permission, permission 2, permission 3. All of these permissions you created this as it is a set of permissions. That permission comprises under role called compute instance admin. This is a role. Okay, so a role is nothing but a set of permissions, right? Anyone have any questions? Please raise your hand. Don't speak in between. If you guys have any questions, you can put it in the chat. Okay, so can you please provide examples of types of services and applications? There are plenty of services in the Google Cloud Platform, as I have mentioned already. Google Cloud Platform provides you the compute category of services and Kubernetes services. And for example, if you wanted to work with the big data, you have a big data services, networking services, machine learning services. So there are plenty of the services. In our sessions, we will see the big data related services one by one. Okay. Yeah. Anyone have any questions? You can put it in the chat, guys. I'm gonna look at the chart. Okay. Okay, so let me take it further. So this is what this diagram actually explains you everything. So you can see here role. A role is a set of permission 1, permission 2, permission 3, permission 4. What is actually the permission is saying the access allowed, the action allowed on the resources. A permission 1 is nothing but what, sir? A permission is nothing but what it is actually indicating. It is indicating that you can do this kind of action on this particular resource. Okay, action allowed or the access allowed on the resources. Okay, now a role, we are going to assign it to the identities. User or a group of users or a service accounts. Okay, so this is what is nothing but a IAM. Now, there are 3 types of roles. Okay, there are 3 types of roles. One is basic roles. Next one is predefined roles. The third one is custom roles. I'm going to go to the basic roles. Basic roles are you can think of like a basic roles are like, talking about all the services in the GCP. So they are like, if you wanted to create an editor access to all the services in the GCP, then you can go to the basic roles. Primitive roles also people usually call it as primitive roles. Okay, when the Google or any other service was actually introduced, basic roles are the ones, or primitive roles are the ones they have created at first. And now there is a problem with these roles. I will tell you. So what is this basic roles? How it will be applied? If you think like this, see, basic roles is like it is going to talk about all the services in the GCP. All the services in the GCP. What does that mean, sir? For example, sir, there is a user. There is a user. He needs an access to one of the service. Okay, he will be working in a one project. He will be working in one project. In that project, they are working on the three services, that is BigQuery, GCS, and Dataproc. They are working on the GCS. See, what the basic roles? If you do not have any other roles, only the basic roles. When the basic roles was actually created, actually discovered, this was the situation that the people were facing. So what they do? So this is a developer one. They actually providing one of the basic role is owner, editor, and viewer. One of the basic role is editor. They are actually providing. They are assigning a editor role. So this is the editor role. But what the basic roles actually, as per the definition of the basic roles, when you apply a basic role to the user, and he will be having access to all the services in the GCP, all the services. He will be having a editor access to all the services in the GCP. He will be having a editor access to all the services in the GCP. Now tell me, sir. So they're actually working on only these services, but this guy will be having access to other services like ML services also he will be having. Unexpectedly, if he created a one ML cluster, it will eat up the entire money. It will eat up the entire money itself. So there is a very, and one more thing is that he supposed to have access to only these services, and but he will be having access to some other services as well. He may be able to misuse the data. He may be able to misuse the service, and due to that there will be a plenty of cost associated with those services, and data breach may also happen. Okay, so that is the reason basic roles are in companies less than 1% people will be using. Okay, less than, I would say that people not at all using it. Okay, people never use the basic roles because this is the problem. Okay, basic roles, if you provide a editor access to one of the developer, instead he is supposed to having access to only three services, he will be having access to editor access to all the services in the GCP. He may misuse the service. There can be a data breach. There can be other issues also. Cost also will affect. So this is the reason people never use the basic roles, because basic roles are actually talking about all the services in the GCP. Okay, when you assign a role, basic role, that means you are providing access to that kind of access to all the services in the GCP, most of the services in the GCP. That is what is a basic role. That means if you make a one owner, that means he is the owner of all the services. Viewer means he can able to view anything in the GCP services. So that's the reason basic services, that means you are providing access to all the services in the GCP. Okay, you can also read it here. Owner has full control over all the resources in the project. Can view edit resources but cannot manage the access control. Viewer has a read-only access to the view resources but make any changes. So this is what is a basic role, sir. Okay, now you got to know that the problem and there is a chance of improvement for us. So that's the reason people come up with a one more role. So that is predefined role. Okay, predefined role. You see here the name itself, it is saying that predefined role. The role is already defined. The role is already defined. So the role is already defined to each service. Okay, so these roles are called as a specific services, or these roles are called as a service related roles, service based roles. I am actually calling it as a service-based role. That means for each service in the GCP, there will be a set of roles assigned already. We have just seen for the BigQuery data editor, BigQuery data owner, BigQuery data viewer. These are the roles under that each service. Each service will have its own predefined set of roles. Okay, predefined set of roles. That means if I say, sir, this guy, earlier we have a problem, right? This guy needs to have access to what, sir? He is working in a project. They need to have access to BigQuery, GCS, and Dataproc. Now, for this guy, I have a service-based role. That means predefined role for the BigQuery. Okay, I am gonna assign him BigQuery data editor. Now tell me, sir, what is the thing here? BigQuery data editor, if I provide him, does he have access to other services in the GCP? Does he? No, right? He does not have access to any other services in the GCP. His actions are restricted to BigQuery only. If I provide him the GCS, his actions are restricted to GCS and BigQuery. His actions are restricted to the data proc also. So now, if he wanted to use any of the services in the GCP, he cannot be able to use it. His actions are only restricted to these services. With what roles are predefined roles? Predefined roles are also called as a granular permissions or a granular roles, specific roles, the roles created to each specific service. Okay, so that is what the each service in the GCP will have its own predefined roles. Each role against contains set of permissions. Okay, if you wanted to see here, you can see all of these things are predefined roles only, sir. So for example, when I select BigQuery, right? So you can see here BigQuery, BigQuery admin, BigQuery. These are all predefined roles only. Each role will actually define few set of permissions. Okay, few set of permissions. See, BigQuery viewer actually having 17 assigned permissions. So this is how it is. So his action is restricted to the role that we have applied to the each service. Okay, each set of service will have its own predefined roles, and if you wanted to apply or if you wanted to restrict his access to that particular service only, you will be providing the predefined role. A predefined role is a granular. If you wanted to provide a granular permissions to your users, use the service based tools, sorry, service based roles. Okay, yep. Now the final thing is that the final thing is that so again the companies are facing some issues. Again there is again a problem. Some companies are facing like this. So you have a BigQuery data editor. If I go to the BigQuery data editor, I will go to the BigQuery data editor. Now think like this, sir. BigQuery data editor is providing you 37 permissions, and when you look at it actually, these are all models related to the machine learning models. Sir, there is a data engineer. He is working on all other things except machine learning models. Okay, but if I provide him this role, if I provide him the BigQuery data editor role, he will be having access to the machine learning models as well, which I don't want him to have. In that cases, sir, can I create a custom role so that I can provide him that custom role to my user? Because my requirement is everything seems everything seems good, sir, but this 6 or 7 more machine learning permissions I don't want it to provide it to my user. In such scenarios, what you can do is that you can create your own custom role. Okay, so create from role, you can click on create from role, and you can give your own name for this one. So I'm going to give this name, and you see here it is having already 37 permissions. You don't need models, right? Remove it. You are creating a role from the existing predefined role. Okay, you have removed those permissions. Now 37 become 27, and if you wanted to add or remove, you can do that. So you have removed few permissions. If you wanted to add few more permissions also, you can do it. Okay, so you can click on create. You can click on create. So a custom role is what, sir? A further granular permissions. If you wanted to apply it to your users, you can do that by creating your own custom role. A custom role can be as per your requirement. If you wanted to create a custom role, you can create it and assign it to your users. So you can create a custom role uh, by creating a role from the scratch, or by using the existing predefined role as well. By existing predefined role, you can add few permissions or you can remove few permissions out of it, and you can create your own custom role as well. So this is what is the third category, that is custom roles. Okay, so one is basic role, which is talking about all the services to each services. This is for each service. Each service will have its own set of roles. Further granular services. So if you wanted to have only specific set of permissions, are, sir, I wanted to create a role and that role was not listed in the basic roles or predefined roles, then you can create your own role. Okay, so always look, if you have a predefined role and if you have a match of the predefined permissions, then you can go for that role. Or if you do not have it, you create it your own. That is we calling as a custom role. GCP allows you to create a custom roles that meet specific access control requirements for your organization. Okay, so this is what is a basic roles, predefined roles, and custom roles. If you go to Google Cloud Platform, sir, roles are there, users are also there. Sir, how to provide the access? Roles are there, users are there. I wanted to provide the access. I wanted to manage their access to the identities. So if you wanted to do, click on this grant access. When you click on the grant access, you can provide some user. Okay, I'm adding one user. And user is nothing but what, sir? User account only, right? Okay, you added one user. And this is, we have added the principals. Then we are going to assign the role. If you wanted to assign a role is nothing but a set of permissions. It determines what the principal can do with that service, right? You have basic roles: browser, editor, owner, viewer. What is mean by basic roles, sir? Basic roles, nothing but when you assign a editor role, he can able to view, create, update, delete most of the Google Cloud resources. Okay, and owner, viewer, browser, and these are the custom roles that we have created. Custom role 1, custom BigQuery data editor 1. And by product and service, you have a plenty of this thing. Each service have its own editor, predefined roles, right? These are all predefined roles only. When you go to BigQuery, we have seen, right, admin, editor, all of these things we are calling as a predefined role only. So all these things are there. Okay, app engine, admin, and all of those things. Okay, plenty of these, all these are predefined roles only. Each service will have its own roles that we are calling as a predefined roles, already defined by the Google Cloud Platform. Okay, so if you wanted to add this user and make him an editor, you can make him it. Or if you wanted to make him a BigQuery editor, you can. Or sir, I wanted to provide him two roles. You can add one more role also. Any number of roles you can able to add it. Okay, any number of roles you can able to add it. Sorry. Okay, sorry. Johnny. And for example, let me take any of these things. I don't wanted to select this BigQuery data editor. And one more role, you can assign any number of roles to one user. There isn't any restriction on it. And Cloud SQL editor. So you have assigned any number of roles, you can assign it, click on save. Automatically, you are creating a policy. You see here, what is this policy, sir? See here, policy created or updated. What does that mean, sir? Each project have its own management. Each project has its own IAM policy. What it actually says is that this is a policy. A policy is a set of bindings. A policy is nothing but a set of binding. A binding is nothing but you created a bond between the principal and role. So that is what is called as a binding. A set of bindings is nothing but a policy. Okay, so see here, this principle, this particular first principle having access to the editor access, so that is one binding. This particular user, he having a owner, this is one binding. This is one binding. Okay, so a set of bindings is nothing but a policy. Each project will have its own IAM policy. Whenever you add access or whenever you remove access, policy gets keep on updated. What is a policy, sir? A policy actually a statement of bindings. Okay, a statement of bindings. So that we will see tomorrow. You can see here. Next topic is policy only. You grant roles to the users by creating a policy only. Whenever you grant a role to some users, you are actually creating a policy or you are actually updating the policy. A policy is a collection of statements that define who has what type of access. Right. An allow policy is attached to the resource and used to enforce the access control when the resource is accessed. I'm going to talk this about tomorrow. What is this enforcement? Okay. Yeah, I'm stopping here for the session today, guys. If anyone have any questions, they can ask me now. And don't keep it. I mean, please raise your hand. Don't talk directly. There are plenty of people out there in the sessions. Okay. Just raise your hand if you guys have any questions. I'm going to go one by one. Link will work. Which link, guys? Which link we are talking about? Okay, anyone have any questions on any of the topic or any of the course details? Anything, if you have any questions, you can ask me. Yes, Ashish.
Sir, can you show how we can go through the nodes with proper direction? Okay.
Yes.
So I
So
have
guys,
seen.
yeah. So this is a question to all of you people maybe. So this is how it is, guys. So you can open. So once you click on the link, right? So I'm going to open from the link itself. How it actually opens it up. Okay. So here I'm clicked on it. I'm going to copy the link. What you guys do is that copy the link, paste it in your browser. So it opens my notebook, Saidhul's notebook. This is my notebook. Okay. The first page is this one. Okay. You can see here. Course content is the first page, first tab. Inside the tab, you will be having pages. Okay, this is tab. Okay, all these are the tabs, and each tab will have its own pages. So this is first page, and this is your second page. And if you wanted to go to the basics, this is your tab, and this is the first page of the basics and prerequisites. And GCP concepts, click on that. You have a 4 pages. This is a Google Cloud first page. Okay, all the information is here. And Google account creation, how to create the Google account, how to install the SDK, and Linux basics. Okay, so this is how you will be having each tab, and each tab will have its own set of pages. So we have today discussed about Cloud IAM, right? So you have here the IAM, and what is IAM? Everything is here, sir. Okay, what is principal? What is their role, what is the permission, and next thing we are going to talk about policy, and the diagram also here you can able to check it. So is a way of identifying who can do what and which resources. You have an account, you want a permission, you assign a role. Roles are 3 things. A role is contains a set of permissions that allow you to perform some specific actions on the GCP resources. Okay, so this is how I am. So you can go through my notes. It actually having a plenty of information. This is curated for you guys only. You can go through one by one.
Sir, in project section, there is a quite incomplete, I think, information.
Where?
In project section, yeah.
Here?
Second last,
Yep.
second last topic.
Guys, wait a minute. Don't worry. I'm going to go one by one. Please raise your hand. Okay. If you have any questions, yeah, please. There are one more question is also going on. Yeah, I will go come to you. Please raise your hand. Yeah. So what is the error here? Sorry, someone was telling.
In the project section, yeah,
Project.
project tab, second last tab.
Okay.
Yeah, so only the flow
No,
have
no, no,
been
no. Don't
explained.
worry about this thing. I have not
Yeah.
explained this one, right? So don't worry about this one. Okay. Yeah. Yes, Chakri, you have some question? Yes. Mhm. Okay. 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 Yeah, it will be useful for you guys. Those who are coming from already as the SQL background, this will be very useful for you if you wanted to become a GCP data engineer. There are plenty of the calls, and you can actually go for the course and you can attend the interview. And the opportunities are there plenty, and it's also very easy for you. Those who are new to the data world, or you already know the SQL, right? It will be easy for you. Okay. Yeah. 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 Thank you. Yes. Anyone have any other questions?
Hello, sir. Means I want to crack Google Cloud Associate exam. So will
Okay.
this be helpful or this is
Yes,
for
this will be
professional?
very helpful for you. I am going to do one thing. Once you start attending all the sessions, and once we are in between, I will also send you the set of questions which will be really helpful for you to crack the exam.
Okay, but means I read the syllabus of that associate exam, and
Mhm.
it has vast topics means which are not written on your notebook. So
Yeah, there were few topics which are not, which will not be covered here, but
okay,
almost all the questions. See, if you wanted to complete the exam, there will only be 50 questions. If you complete
yes,
25 questions, you are able to easily crack it. Okay. And 50% is the score. So if you wanted to crack it, okay, I'm going to give you the questions. I'm also give you the course content detailed so that it will really helpful for you. Okay, cracking is important. Do you want 50 to 50 out of 50?
no, I want to crack it.
Yeah, cracking will be easy. Don't worry.
Okay,
Okay.
okay,
Yeah.
that's
Many people have cracked it and they told me, sir, your notes has helped them. Okay,
okay,
don't worry about that. I will send you the questions and set of answers as well.
okay, okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Anyone have any other questions, guys?
Yeah, hi sir. Yeah, so actually, like I saw like in one of the workbench, the Python version is the like a 3.7. So I want to like 3.10. So how can I like upgrade that one?
Which one? Sorry, where?
So in
Python.
one of the workbench, yeah, Python
Oh,
version.
you can update it, right? You can set your project if you wanted to upgrade your version. See, you have a notebook and you can already having some 3.7, right? So you can actually use that updates on which operating system
That's
it
the,
was
like
installed.
I am trying to upgrade in like a data flow.
I think you can
Can
do
I
that.
can I
Yeah.
share my screen for a quick minute?
Not now. I mean, I have a one more class. I will tell you. Okay. So if you wanted to upgrade it in the data flow, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Tomorrow I will give you the notes how to do that. It's actually straightforward. You can just use the update statement. It will be automatically updated. And anyway, you can actually have a list of Python versions, right? Why do you need to select the 3.9 and use it? You have
No,
a
I didn't get a chance to select that. So by default, it's showing like a 3.7, but
no,
I
no, no.
want to
Have
install
a
the
list
lang
of
chain.
have a list
Uh,
of things. I will tell you tomorrow. Okay.
okay, makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we are good, guys. Right. Yes, Subba Ramireddy. Do you have any questions? Okay. Okay, guys. Thank you all. We will meet tomorrow at the same time. Have a great day. Bye bye.